Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here with Crypto Common Sense, and I have your Bitcoin / cryptocurrency market update for Tuesday, September the 8th. Before I jump into the content for this video, please do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and of course make sure you check the description for a link where you can join the Patreon. It's just $7 a month, and that includes access to more frequent updates. Also, be sure and check the description for a link where you can join my trading course. I don't really push that course. There's not even a real sales page for it. It's something that I've done very much on the side the last couple of years. But people have been getting really great results with it, and I want to do more with it. So I am going to start advertising that. Advertising costs money. That means that I'm going to actually change the price of the course. Right now it's $297 a year. I'm going to change that price up to $997. So if you've been on the fence, or maybe if you weren't even aware it was there, make sure to check that out. I'm just going to give you a quick run through of what's inside the members area. This is actually the members area here. Obviously, getting started section, a section on the different exchanges, fundamentals, different patterns that I look for when I'm trading, candlestick patterns themselves, money management, including things like risk management, how to choose your position sizing, how to choose your stop losses, all that type of stuff. Putting it all together, right? How to use the different time frames, how to make sure that your trades are validated, or how to know when your trades are invalidated, all that kind of stuff. And then of course the exact trade setup that I use, and setups, plural, but the exact trade setups that I use on a regular basis that allow me to do this for a living. I have the hiccup, sorry about that. But yeah, bottom line is this, it's a pretty thorough course. A lot of the stuff inside the course is again the same stuff you can find anywhere else. For example, candlestick patterns are candlestick patterns. Risk management might be a little different because I have my own way of doing that, partially because I played poker for a living before I traded. So I come from a background where risk management is extremely important. But for the most part, a lot of the fundamentals and things are not going to change, right? I want to be very transparent. So you can find this stuff pretty much anywhere. But when you get down into the putting it all together, my particular trading style and my particular trade setups, you're not going to find those other places because those are actually things that I invented or created myself. And they've done very, very well for me. So that's the main value in this course. Meaning whether you're a beginner or you're somebody that's had a little bit of success with trading, I firmly believe there is something in there for you. All right, so there will be a link down in the description. Like I said, you can check it out. There is no sales page, guys. It's not something that I sell or try to twist people's arms to get them to join. It's just something I do because I really, really enjoy it. So if you want to join, this is what it is, and the link will be down there. So let's talk about Bitcoin. I'm going to keep this video fairly short, probably try to keep it under 20 minutes here. So before I even jump into crypto, the first thing I need to say is, guys, you need to really pay attention to what the stock market is doing here. It does not look good, okay? I was expecting some type of dead cat bounce. We got a little micro bounce, but nothing like what I was expecting, right? I really wanted this stuff to come back up, hit these trend lines from underneath so I can get short. Did not happen. I also expected Bitcoin to bounce from around 10 grand all the way up to 11 grand, right? Same thing on a bearish retest. The reason I felt that way had more to do with stocks than anything. I thought, okay, well, if these stocks bounce, I think Bitcoin's going to go up with it. But instead, stocks continue going down. And as a result, I think it's kind of taken a lot of the wind out of Bitcoin sales. So without getting off on a huge tangent, I'm just going to say this, and hopefully you understand this. Make sure that when you are, in this space, that you're using common sense and that you're not buying into BS narratives. The narrative that Bitcoin is a store of value is absolutely false. It's an amazing asset to trade. It's a great asset to speculate on. It may go way, way up someday. Who knows? It may go to zero. No idea. But the one thing it is not is a store of value, right? It was proven in March when the stock market fell about 30%. Bitcoin fell 50% in one day. That is not a store of value. And it's being proven all over again right now. Look at these stocks, right? So if you look at the Dow, it's down about 5.9%, call it 6% from its peak a few days ago. You look at the the NASDAQ first. We'll go to the S&P 500 next. NASDAQ, is down about 12%. You look at the S&P 500 from its peak, it is down about 8%, right? All those are pretty brutal, but then you come down and look at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is down. It should be down less because it's quote unquote a store of value, but it's not. It's down 21%. So you can't call something a store of value when it's losing value at 2, 3, 4 times the rate of the other major markets. That is not a store of value. It's the exact opposite. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Now again, awesome to speculate on, right? Lots of trade opportunity on an asset that's that volatile. So it's an amazing asset, but just make sure that you understand what it really is. If we take a look at this, if we look over at the BitMEX chart, this was actually the chart that I was looking at, hoping for that bounce up to 11K so that I could get short on Bitcoin. The bounce never came. It fell short, stopped around 10,450. We'll talk about why in just a few minutes. But bottom line, that wedge that looks something like this, right? It is now changed and it looks more like a just a downward sloping parallel channel, which is not a bullish sign at all, right? So keep that in mind. Also, you can see here that this has broke through. It's not closed yet, but right now this has broke through its support on RSI as well. So that really kind of pulls back my expectations of some type of bounce. I still think it'll bounce, but I don't know how low it's going to go before it hits that bounce. All right, so if we look at the weekly chart, I keep this fairly short. Please keep in mind that, while a lot of people have said that we're in a bull market, I do not believe that we are in a bull market. I have never believed that we were in a bull market this whole time, right? I still view this as one big bear market, okay? And I know that price has been wonky and it's had these really crazy parabolic runs and things, but if you look at both momentum and RSI, you can see that they've had a very clean and a very clear downward sloping resistance going all the way back to the top in December of 2017. So it does look like a bear market to me. Right now, this weekly candle has 5 days to go, but it is back inside the bear market box. So bulls are going to want to pull out of that before the weekends, right? Also, the other bad news for the bulls, guess what? Right now, price is back underneath the 19-week moving average. So it did not hold a support. It did not get the major bounce off of it that I was hoping for, right? Did get a bounce, bounced up about 5% or so, but didn't get back up to the 11K area. So going to watch this closely. The Fibonacci levels, the first retracement's going to be down around 38.2, which is around $9,200. If we lose that, I think the next level that I'm really going to be interested in is probably going to be down somewhere around the 61.8, down around $7,100 or so. We've got the 200-week moving average curling up, so it will be interesting if we can get down there. The gotcha that I'm going to watch for is going to be something like this, where it comes down, puts in some type of, something like this, where it puts in some type of head and shoulders pattern and then crushes people's hopes, right? So I'm going to be watching carefully for something like that to form up. If we look at the 3-day chart, it's more bad news. We can see here that this was finding support on this downward sloping line. It's now chopped through it. This candle will close in just over 90 minutes, and it is deep, deep, deep back inside the bear market box, which shouldn't be in, right? You go back and look at this market back here, you notice that we didn't get too deeply into that box. If we did, we came right back out of it. So that's not a great sign for bulls. All right, so I do expect more downside. What happened, instead of getting all the way back up to 11K, it actually ended up finding resistance right around that 10.4, 10.5 level, which was that uber important level that a lot of goofy people like to comment on. When it first crossed and I was still bearish, people basically said I was insane or silly, that everybody knew that if you crossed 10.5K, it had to be, the next bull market, and 16K was next, and 18K and 20K and all-time highs. It's the same old stuff, guys. Every time we break some imaginary level, people start talking out of their butts about all these big imaginary numbers that we're going to go up to. Look, I'd love for it to go up too. I'm holding some Bitcoin, right? I've talked about this many times, but that's not what I see in the charts. What I see in the charts disagrees with the assessment that this thing is going to be flying back up. We'll see. Maybe it surprises me. I wouldn't complain if so. But right now, I think with the stock market looking rough, Bitcoin's going to have a tough time moving up because it has been showing a heavy correlation to that stock market. If we go over to the daily chart, we can see here that we had the upward channel. Obviously lost that. I did not get the retest I was hoping for on that. Also didn't get the retest of the 50 moving average. So I'm not going to mark those off. I'm not going to say, it's impossible they go there. I'd still like to see them go there so I could look for short positions. But right now, it looks more bearish than anything. We have this RSI is going to be closing in about 90 minutes or so. Excuse me, again, I got the hiccups. But it does look like it's trying to put in an M. I wouldn't necessarily call that a double top. Double tops happen at the tops of moves, but it does look like an M, which is not a bullish signal, right? It doesn't look great. So we basically came up and retested this close back here before more downside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the daily. I will be watching the 200-day moving average, which of course is above the the 200 weekly. Geez, my brain just shorted out there. So I will be watching if we get down to that level. But what's really interesting to me is if we lose that, I think we're going to start looking at filling in some of these gaps. First one being down around 77, 7,800, and then we have another one down around the $5,400 to $5,500 area as well, right? So lots of really interesting levels. I don't see any trades right now. Now somebody else might see a trade. I don't know. That's fine. I don't personally see any trades, so I'm kind of in a wait and see what happens mode until some type of setup comes in. I'm pretty torn on which direction it's going to go in the short term. I'd really like to see the bounce, but it's looking pretty weak right now. It's very possible that it goes down to 9K or down to that 200 moving average down around 9,100 first, fills in that CME gap, and then perhaps we get the bounce, right? When I was on Twitter earlier, which was only about 10 minutes today, I did notice a lot of people seem to be super bearish. So typically when people are super bearish, the market likes to wash those bears out. So we'll see how that goes. But when I go down to the 6-hour chart, one thing I will say is this thing is putting in an interesting divergence here. So I don't think you can count the bulls out just yet. It's making this series of lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, but it's continually printing these higher lows down here. So, it just, it really could go either way. I don't want to get short down here. The risk reward's not that great, but I'm certainly not going to get long either. I want to wait. Hopefully we get some type of pump back up to this 11K-ish level, and hopefully some type of setup forms up where I can take a short position and then ride it back down. But only time will tell if that actually happens. Okay. Is there anything else I want to talk about? I don't think so, right? I think that's pretty much it. Well, I will finish up with one other thing. I shared this on Facebook last night, so I'll share it with you guys here. Try to keep an eye out for these patterns here. This is actually, it looks a lot like an inverse head and shoulders. It's not an inverse head and shoulders. The volume did not confirm it. We'd want high sell volume over here and low sell volume here. But still, when you see these patterns, a lot of times there's going to be some type of pump afterward. We did get that. It's worth watching, right? If you see like this smiley face type of deal, right, you'll often get that pump. But the other thing is, if you get like a wonky pump like this right before the daily close, like this was right about 90 minutes before the daily close, I'd actually told my Discord, you gotta be careful about that. They like to pump it up right before the close, get people excited, and then do the opposite. And when this pumped up, it did look like it was breaking out of that falling wedge over on the 4-hour charts. Looked like maybe it was going to go up toward that 11K level, and then of course it just crapped back out, right? So it's interesting because here we are 24 hours later, 90 minutes before the daily close, and now they're dumping it. So over here people were going long, then they pulled it back down. Over here people are going short, and wouldn't surprise me at all if this thing pumps back up here. But again, not taking any positions on it. I'm simply waiting for a proper setup to come in. I still think it's a coin toss right now, right? Long term, I'm a macro bear, which is no surprise. I have been all along, right? I do still think we're going to go back down and at least test the 61.8, and I think it's likely that we'll probably go back down eventually, depending on what the stock market does. I still think we're going to go back down and fill in some CME gaps that exist in this area back here around 3,500. So we'll see. But that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter in the short term. That's long-term thinking. Short-term thinking, I'm just waiting, seeing if we get some type of bounce back up, and then if I can get into a short to ride it back down. And that short, if I do get short up in this area, just full disclosure, I'm not saying I'm going to ride it way down here. I'm just talking about riding it down. I had the hiccup so bad, I apologize. I'm just talking about riding it back down to support, maybe around 7,800, or if I get lucky, maybe even down to 7,200 area. But eventually, even if it's falling, I expect it's going to bounce. It's not going to just go straight down 99 times out of 100. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Overall, though, the video is about 15 minutes. I think I'm going to try to keep this one fairly short. So I'm going to wrap up there. Please remember, I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, so nothing in the video is financial advice. Nothing in the video is trade advice. You should always do your own due diligence and seek out professional investment advice from a licensed financial advisor before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency, the stock market, or precious metals. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and of course, make sure you check the description for a link where you can join the Patreon and a link where you can join my trading course if you'd like to learn how to trade. This is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you to please trade safe.